Mhm.
Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Love music, love live. You are listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1, and it's time for us to find out what's happening. Who is sponsoring what bill? Who's trying to make what policy? Is it favoring the masses? And who's trying to pad their pockets? That and much more, including your opinion, your perspective, your thought on the state of the nation as seen through the headlines of the newspapers. That's what we're doing from now till 8 o'clock on Freshly Pressed. My name is Oluwaseun Olusegun, and you can join us on WhatsApp and on YouTube as well. WhatsApp is 0911 999 0981. Again, 0911 999 0981. And joining us this morning to analyze what's happening is Mr. Joseph Obari. Good morning.
Good morning, Shehu. How are you? Good to
I
see
am
you
well,
again.
thank you.
Yeah, you look it.
Thank you. And of course, we have the company of architect A.B. Bozimo. Good morning.
Good morning, Oluwaseun, who I've titled the Queen of Serenity. I'm glad to join you and the wonderful listeners out there. Let's make this happen.
All right. As exciting as the introduction is, I don't know about it because having successfully concluded the review of the remuneration of judicial office holders last year, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission have decided to start the retreat aiming at harmonizing a report that will help them to come up with appropriate remuneration packages for political and public office holders across the country. Mr. AB.
Now, this, despite the earlier announcement of this about to happen that sparked a backlash, the RMFAC is going ahead to start this retreat. Let me put this in perspective. The RMAC is tasked with, determining the appropriate remuneration for political and other, judicial, for government officials, public officials. So that is their job. But rather than going too deep into the bulk of the story, I want to focus on the word appropriate. When you talk of a political office holder, the presumption is that in doing their work, they will be bringing value to the lives of the people. And the good book said, a good workman deserves his wages. So ideally, if you are doing your work and the people's lives are being advanced, I would imagine that there is absolutely nobody on the surface of planet Nigeria that will have an opposition to your payments as a whole, or even your payments being increased. However, contrary to that, the politicians in Nigeria live a remote lives of the rich and famous that has absolutely no connection with the misery that they have wrought in the lives of Nigerians. When we talk about appropriate, in my view, the appropriate thing to do is to reduce their salaries so that only those who are committed to actually bringing value to the lives of Nigerians may remain. There are other arenas of life, especially in the public sector, where you are measured by your output and you can earn what you desire, perhaps. If you're focused on the money, go to the public sector where you sink or swim on your own merit. I think the RMFAC is also, though trying to do their work, being especially insensitive at this time. They're talking about, oh, how can somebody in so and so earn only 1 million? Has the person done the work of 200,000 that can be perceived by the human beings in Nigeria? My argument is no. So they are going to go on this retreat with all the necessary support they will have. Of course, there is a budget for it. Thank God for them working there right now. But their core mandate would ordinarily be to assess the effectiveness of the political class. Nigeria's political class, except for less than 1 or 2%, has been largely the plague that has affected Nigeria. And they do not deserve to have increased salaries until they demonstrate that in being in office, other ordinary Nigerians also have access to fundamentals. Nigeria is a relatively easy country to lead. Give us fundamentals, safety, security, good road networks, good access to healthcare, quality education in the public schools. And I think from that, you will find Nigerians able to generate energy and wealth of our own. And it will be less of a slap in the face to hear that political people who are not doing anything for us are getting increased salary. So RMFAC, do your thing. Nobody can stop you. But just know that it's on record that you are doing this for people who are paid the most, for doing the least, for the largest population on the planet on the African continent. They do not currently deserve what they get because they don't add value to Nigerians. In fact, if I had to say one thing in conclusion, the only disaster that plagues Nigeria is the political class. Other places have typhoons, hurricanes, volcanoes. Nigeria's political class is a natural disaster.
Mr. Joseph, would you like to add something to that?
Well, I think Ibi has said it all. It is so most unfortunate that these people in the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, they are only invested in raising the welfare and the remuneration of political office holders. Meanwhile, there are a larger number of people who work in government who are down there. They don't feel that their duty requires that they should look down there and see how they can help them. So you see a situation where people are just pandering to the political class, more or less bribing them with largesse here and there. But the people who really are down there, who need the help, are left to suffer. We cannot continue to run a society like that. We cannot. We cannot.
We move on to the next story. And in a chat, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has said that the process of identifying and prosecuting terrorism financiers in Nigeria is ongoing, stressing that the matter involves legal complexities. Do you believe that, Mr. Joseph?
What are the complexities, for goodness sake? What are the complexities, for goodness sake? Somebody is sponsoring terror. He has account. Money going in and out can be tracked. Then you tell us, I mean, we've known this for a long time. Everybody has known since Goodluck Jonathan's time. They've told us that these people are in government. And even recently, I had a discussion with a general, and he told me, we know that people in political offices are sponsoring these people, but the political will is lacking. So it's not enough to come and tell us, but can you really carry out? They are going to sequester you and prevent you from doing any investigation. I mean, it's not today. We are told that about 400 and something persons are implicated in terror financing. Where is it gone? Yeah, we hear of a trial here, trial there. But when you have a massive number as 400 and something, which government released to us, then we need to see how that action is being taken. So it is really disheartening that the Chief of Defense Staff comes and tells us it is ongoing, we are investigating, we are going to do. We need action. Insecurity has simply just taken over the country, and people can't live normal lives. And then you have people, I mean, the last time it was UAE who identified sponsors of terror in their country and sought to inform Nigerian government. Now, instead of Nigerian government to take action, it was Nigerian government politicians who are defending those people. So it just confirms that, yes, there are people who are behind all these things. And the Chief of Defense Staff was very, very blunt. He said, There is flow of money. Money comes out, it goes to people, and they go into account. So maybe that's why he says there are complications. But there is nothing you cannot track today. Financial footprints is one of the beautiful things about digital movement of money. So it is not any rocket science that if you want to, you can track this money and link it to those who are sponsoring this. For how long are you going to continue like this? For how long?
Still on that chat, I'll read out some part of his statement and I'll take your thoughts, Mr. AB. He said, I think we should be very grateful that things are really picking up. I don't think there's any country that has 100%. 16 years we've been like this. It's not something within 2 years that we will be able to stop. But I can tell you, we've made giant strides. We just mentioned the Ansari commanders that were arrested. This is one of the most significant arrests that have been made. Getting the two of them shows how detailed the planning was.
Yeah,
So
so would they be able to try them? Would they try them? What will be the outcome? Well, anyway, I can have this.
no, it's ironic that we're hearing that some of the political class, you see, armament and weapons are not cheap. To put it in Nigeria, no be beans. It takes quite a lot of money to be able to arm people to the extent that you see them being able to destroy Nigerian lives. And in the first story, we're about to give some of those political people more money. How ironic. I'll just say there is nothing that they can't track if they are determined. There are the tools and the techniques in existence. They don't have to make them up. It's all about the will to expose the rot. Maybe because some people that they don't want to be exposed may be touched. So I'm really tired of hearing we can't. It's possible. You can actually create laws that bypass, unnecessary blockades and make it happen if you want. We passed an entire national anthem in 24 hours. We changed a national Nigerian anthem in 24 hours. What are we talking about? Come on. If we want to, we can do things.
Away from the falterings and the legal complexities, let's go to Benue State. The Benue government has announced an immediate ban on kindergarten, nursery, and basic school pupils' graduation parties. They're not the only one, Imo State as well. What's your take on that, Mr. Ibi?
There was a time when you just had, I don't know whether you're of the age, when if you came home without an invitation card from your colleague, you were not allowed to go to their birthday party even if they were your neighbor. It was a formality. And that was, I think, the extent of celebration at that early stage. A few birthday parties, some of us have black and white pictures. Yes, I'm dating myself, of birthday parties where you're there blowing the card and, not a people who have selfie for everything. But suddenly, in recent years, you would see primary, kindergarten, nursery school, children in diapers with a diploma hat. What is going on? And it has started putting so much pressure on parents. It's hard enough to manage life ordinarily. It's expensive to educate your children, and every parent wants their child to be educated. And then there was now this thing where a form of peer pressure was being mounted at that earlier stage of school on children, because if you stood your ground and said, I'm not spending that money for my child, what has they learned? How to count 1 to 10 and color inside the box. You want to graduate. What the? But some schools started making it almost compulsory and the pressure was on. And I've seen videos of, children 8, 6, 9 in all sorts of suits, little girls with hair made up, come on. And so I applaud the notion of the state government saying, stop it. Let's focus on these children. It's bad enough that the children are not being educated. You see some children spelling and you are shocked. They are spelling literally in phonetic form because they have not got the education they need. That's a complete other story. But let's focus on what matters. And also, I am an eldest. My younger ones were able to get some of my things from school. Yes, when I stopped doodling in the corners, because I used to draw stars in every corner, my father had to beat me to stop it. But other than that, the books, physics books, chemistry books were relevant for some years until they changed the system. Joseph and I did from 1 to 5. You people did 6, 3, 3, 4. So those books changed. But fine, from 1 to 5 people, we could pass them down. Suddenly you had these customized books where a student has to use the book and nobody can. They have said, look, let's stop it. Get books that the material can be handed down just to help those who have more than one child. I think it's a human-faced policy, and one of those that shows that government at some level is actually hearing the challenges parents are having. So look, the graduation used to be associated with at least your first degree. Go ahead and do it. We're not saying that those who are maybe in apprentices have some kind of graduation, but they're young adults. A typical mechanic apprentice or catering apprentice may graduate from their training school. That's different. But at the public school level or even at the private school level, stop it. Educate the children. Let them have a childhood. You don't need a little girl with eyelashes affixed to her face or a young boy with a suit and a waistcoat at age 14 or age 3. Come on, stop it. I'm happy with the policy.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the story about the EFCC, and that is coming from the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, who's saying that people should stop claiming that Tambuwal is being witch hunted because he belongs to the opposition. Mr. Joseph?
Well, it may well be that it is true that it's not being witch hunted, but when a government has a track record that suggests that they go after people who are opposed to them, you can't control how people perceive things. Perception matters a lot, and perception don't have to be true. By your conduct, people will draw conclusions as to what you're doing. So it behoves you to stand above board and act quite independent so that you are not seen or your actions are not interpreted to be what people think it is. So we have seen people who, when they are aligned to the party in government, all their sins are forgiven. I mean, we have people like Senate president who had a long list of charges against him. Once he ported into APC, all charges were dropped, and it's not one person, it's not two. It just happens and keeps happening. So it's difficult for you to convince us that they are not politically motivated. So the discharge of that bias lies on you and by your actions. The government must act transparently. And then, of course, where does it go? Most of the time, the trials really don't take off. They just harass you. Eventually, if you're harassed enough and you want to join their party, then they drop the charges. So we know what is going on. So Iwike cannot be the one to tell us, oh yeah, he said they invited him, they arrested him, and so on. They manipulated the system, got themselves perpetual injunctions, tying the hands of EFCC, something that is completely outrageous. So just because you are able to throw out the case against you doesn't mean that you didn't have a case to answer, because it never really went to trial as such. And then, of course, it all went away. Who is the beneficiary of the relationship with APC more than anybody today is Wike. He's in a political party, PDP, but he says he will not leave that party and he will continue to work for the government. And some of his actions indicate that he is there to ensure that no party stands up to the APC. We can see it by his actions. So he threatens PDP with frustrations, with all that, and so that's the truth. Your actions in PRO, we say perception is king, because people look at what you're doing and they form the opinion, and you can't control that. You can't control that.
Would you like to add something to that, Mr. Ibi, or we'll move on?
I mean, what's that thing? If a tree falls in a forest and there's nobody there, does it make noise? Yes, you can say, and you could be proven right that an investigation can be based on facts. But it's mighty coincidental how these investigations seem to pop up at interesting times when somebody seems to be aligning somewhere else. And then there are other people whose cases never seem to go anywhere. Yahaya Bello, that was allegedly being looked for in a building in Abuja. I don't know whether he has written a white lie off into the sunset. I have no idea, but that case seems to be going nowhere. I'm not in EFCC. Maybe they have some particular process they're undergoing right now, but you just hear what appears to be a different standard or a double standard. And that, I think, is at the heart of people's, inability to believe a statement that could actually be true. Yes, you could be invited for anything and investigations could go on. But if we see that there's a uniform standard where people of all stripes are being invited, you could have that conversation. But it does look coincidental who typically is invited. And like Joseph said, these cases sometimes serve as two things. They sully a person's name, because if you're inviting somebody or you are doing these investigations, in other climes as well, like to say, they seem to have all their ducks in a row. Then they announce it. But here it's almost like they announce the thing and then they start trickling out what they plan to look for. I think they should be the other way around. It's almost like public trials rather than, refined investigation. So Wike could be right. Let's take that to the bank. He could be right. But it does seem to have a certain pattern, especially the pattern where once you genuflect to the ruling party as it is, then there's no further investigation. Interesting.
We'll take some messages now, and this one is coming from Mr. Ajayi Olonilua from Magodo GRA Sherry. He says, good morning. It's a slap on the face of the citizens for RMFAC to consider increasing the salaries of public office holders whose current wages and allowances are already ridiculously high. And at this point in time, when the citizens are being asked to tighten their belts to make sacrifice as a result of the bad economy, it's daylight robbery to contemplate such. Joseph Maini says it is catastrophic that the RMFAC is hell-bent about reviewing salaries of public holders due to economic meltdown, borrowing to fund budget over bloated ministers' jamboree trips from time to time, while the citizens are hungry, jobless, pensioners not paid, high power tariffs, accommodations, food inflation, etc. We can't continue in this trajectory. May God help us. Emeka from Ikeja says, let children graduation parties be conducted strictly in their parents' homes. There are parents that can't afford the waste, but don't hoist it on every parent's neck. Gilbert Musa from Festac says, on the proposed increase in salaries, let us recall that lawmakers were given 160 million naira each for new vehicles. This trend unchecked is what has given birth to this new proposed salary increase. On the arrested two terrorists, how secure are our correctional service centers in Nigeria? Will terrorists not hijack another train and ask for their release like what happened in March 2022, the Abuja-Kaduna train kidnap scenario? Barrister Dan Okuda from Igondo says, good morning, the crew. Wike should realize that all this is exercise and gra-gra will end one day. No champion reigns forever. And Moj from Apapa says, good morning, my people. This ban is very necessary. These guys stressed me this year for useless graduation from nursery to primary. Sorry about that, Muji. Let's talk about the ASU threatening fresh strike over unmet demands. And they're tired, according to them. Mr. Abi.
You see, ASU has not been in the news in the way it had been for some time, because there was the appearance that the current administration sought to address their lingering issues. And they have just said that, look, another shutdown of universities is potentially going to happen because some things like renegotiating a 2009 federal government and ASU agreement are outstanding. Some withheld salaries as well, and controversial tertiary institution staff support fund. You see, let's just talk about it without getting into too much detail. It's a matter of trust and trust deficit. We hear big stories about how the government has increased the foreign exchange reserves. The government has paid outstanding figures to airlines that were, owed. These are positive stories. Take nothing from those stories. Those are positive stories. But it appears that there's little or no attention being paid to some domestic lingering issues. I've insisted that it is possible to walk and chew gum at the same time. While you are addressing those external things, pray tell, make some effort to address internal things. I don't think ASU is thinking that government will come one day and just address everything 100%. But when you are in a house and there's something brewing in the kitchen, you can often smell the scent and know something good is coming. If you're not addressing some of these things side by side with this big institution are doing, then you are putting the lecturers at a disadvantage. And then when you contrast that with the fact that you hear about things like new presidential jets, trips to Japan, following them to Brazil, empty stands in Japan, even though the president went there. I guess he didn't go to the stand because it would be a disgrace for him to be standing in front of the empty stand when 54 other countries have stands. We're the only people who were not at a stand, but let's leave that aside. Then you also find that your own case as ASU is not being addressed. It is frustrating. And we're talking about something now. There's a warning. Government they're now being reminded, look, address this thing so that the strike doesn't come up. Next thing you know, it will be the night before an announced strike. Today is what? The 22nd. It'll be the night before an announced strike. Suddenly, government will look at it. This today is the day to address the thing. Call them in, have conversation. Let us see what can indeed be done. But unfortunately, there's, lecturers are now resorting to loans and all that. Loans are not the solution. If you have worked, you deserve your salary, so you should not have to get a loan because the loan has a payment plan and consequences and interest. Nobody wants to take loans if you can avoid them, except Nigerian government. But let's leave that aside too. So with 72 federal, 108 state, and 159 private universities, having just spreading money around is pointless. Focus on the federal institutions at least. Make sure that those in there can be properly served, and you will be surprised. Look, these Nigerian universities have created magic around the world. Graduates of Nigerian universities are in every sector and every sphere and everywhere around the world doing great things. There's nothing wrong with the Nigerian universities as they are, but without properly taking care of those who teach, you will not get the right result. And those who teach are one set. You must also remember the non-academic staff. So please, Nigerian government, face your responsibilities in the educational sector and bring these universities back to their pride of place in the world.
Thank you. We move on to the
Sorry,
final.
one last line. RMAFC will not see Nigerian universities raise their salary. It's only political office holders. Sorry, I know they're not taxed with, but just think of the difference in contrast. You are looking to raise salaries of people who are already overpaid, in my opinion, and you're not looking at those who are teaching the next generation. It's wrong.
The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASAN, has called for urgent reforms in the country's refineries and cautioned against political interference in the oil and gas sector. Mr. Joseph?
I chuckle because what are the refineries? Now, these refineries have been declared moribund. They have never been maintained properly. Then somebody is talking about reform of refineries. Which refineries are you reforming? The ones that are comatose. After spending, Port Harcourt refinery spent $1.5 billion. It cannot produce a drop of oil, can't produce anything. And then you're talking about, I don't understand. So, and now PENGASAN, of all people, they should know better. I mean, it's okay, yeah, we are interested in members' interests and so on, but must it be brazen that you cannot see what is going on? Can you not see? Yeah, okay, so your members must not lose their jobs. So you have to keep up. There were NNPC staff who for over 5 years were earning salaries when the refinery was not producing a drop of petrol or any other product for that matter. That's before the so-called rehabilitation. So what kind of country is this? And then the PENGASAN comes and demands urgent refinery reforms. What kind of reform are you reforming when the integrity of the refinery is questionable? Even though Julari says We don't need to sell it, but it means that, okay, sell these refineries, but it means that we have to spend another round of money, and nobody has given account of what we spent before. I mean, this is criminal enterprise. That's what it means. How do you run a country like that? If you're not able to maintain or run the refineries, give them to private sector. Let them put their money. Dangote offered to take these refineries and run them. They refused him for political reasons. Because some people in NNPC were more interested in continuing to milk the country. Today, we are here where we are. Not a drop of product is coming out from the 4 refineries. And people talk about reform. What kind of reform are you reforming? That's a question. It's just, I don't understand. What reform is Pengassin talking about? I expected Pengassin to demand accountability for all the money that has been spent on all the refineries so far, so that we know how they spend the money and what goals have been achieved. Pengassin is not talking about that. So sometimes you feel that the unions are in bed with these government officials. It's unfortunate.
Sometimes it's draining to start the day with stories like this, because
Indeed.
It's just for years and years, like I said when we started, same stories, different headlines. It comes back in one form or the other. And you wonder, these things are no-brainer. So what exactly is going on? Why can't just there be an application of the brain cells? But
some people thrive on chaos. Unfortunate for the rest of us.
I'll end with this message from JP, who says, good morning, Smooth. Maybe Pengassin should form an SPV and buy the moribund refineries.
Good idea. Since they have so many ideas of how to reform it, ultimately, if you're in charge, you can reform any way you want.
We're done for today, and thank God it's the weekend, so we can take a break from all of these. We'll be back to it again next week. Thank you for your presence, Mr. AB. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. And I hope you have a lovely and refreshing weekend.
Thank you very much, Oluwaseun. Thanks all of the wonderful listeners out there. The messages are insightful. You all have a fabulous and fun-filled Friday.
So thanks so much, Oluwaseun, and the entire team there, and the listeners whose contributions have been very, very enriching. So we cannot stop discussing this country, and then we must hope that one day we get where we are going. We hope to be. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Thank you. We'll take a breather now, and when we come back, we'll be talking sports and taking a break from the political talks. You're listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. My name is Oluwaseun Olusegun. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure and privilege. Good to see you again.
Yeah. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Have a very good weekend ahead. Take care. Sir Joseph.
Thank you, sir.
I think I'll sound well, but have a good weekend yourself.
Thank you.